Welcome to another episode of the Financial Armor Show. My name is Jose Rodriguez, investment advisor here at Cooper Financial, and your host for today, alongside my co-host Jaclyn Gladhill. How you doing, Jaclyn?
I am fantastic.
Good.
I'm happy to be here with you because we never get to record together, and now this is going to be an ongoing thing.
Yeah,
So it seems like Brad and Tony are kind of a pair, and then Jose, you and I come in because we're the youngins,
yeah,
and we like to use that to our advantage.
yes. I said I made the executive decision today of hey, let's have the young bucks do this show today because
Yeah.
I think it applies not only for the topic that we're going to be talking about today. It applies for young people in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s,
Mhm.
any age it applies. If depending on where someone is in their financial journey, today's topic is something that I think everyone should know, regardless of your age or where you're at financially.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's mainstream essential information that I think anyone can find useful and
Mhm.
everyone should implement in their financial strategy. So, with that being said, Jose, what are we going to be discussing today?
So the main topic is going to be what to do if you're 10 years before your retirement,
A
right?
decade. A decade
Yeah, decade, decade.
seems like
Which
a lot of time, but I think what you're going to say is it's not.
Right, it's not, but at the same time, it should be a sign that hey, maybe you should start definitely dialing in on what essentially retirement planning that you're
Mhm.
dialing in even more. Um, but and also that could mean anything for anybody because it depends on where you're at in your financial journey.
Yeah.
That means something different every time. But what is something, and also just so you know, from my background in working with corporations in the corporate world, we like to set standards, right?
Yes.
And I think that's in a foundation and a really like a playbook to follow. And I think this kind of plays as that. And then from the standard, making sure you follow the standard and the foundations, you can build on top of that. And I think that's what I have for everyone today. But okay, you are 10 years before you have about 10 years left till you retire. The first thing that I would like for somebody to do, and usually this all happens, and I do this all the time with new clients and people that are just looking to talk through things, and especially with the younger crowd, people in their 20s and they're got their
Mhm.
first job out of college and they're making adult money, right?
Yes.
Um, this this conversation is very, very, very constructive, and they feel the anxiety levels just completely drop, and they just feel a lot better about planning in general.
Okay.
And the first thing is uh, figure out where you're at today financially.
Mhm.
Now we're going to start very broad, and then we're going to dial it in a little bit.
Okay.
Find out where you're at financially. Just take that financial inventory. I know how much I have in this account and that account. All right. And if I'm contributing this much into a 401k, what kind of 401k am I contributing to? Is it taxable?
Mhm.
Is it not? Um, so just taking that
What kind of
financial
debt?
inventory, right?
Yeah.
That kind of debt. That's the next thing. What kind of income do I have? How much is coming in? How
Mhm.
much is coming out? So it's just, budgeting, financial inventory, and figuring out how much debt I have, what's the interest that I'm paying on that
Yeah.
debt, right? Then the next step I would say is creating a budget, which I'm surprised that a lot of people don't have budgets. That it's all about just staying organized.
Mhm.
I know how much is coming in and I know how much is coming out,
Yeah, I think
right?
it eases those fears of, and anxiety like you said,
Hmm.
because and I am a person that likes to write things out on
Hmm.
paper. And so having a paper in front of me that, I like Excel spreadsheets. I know that that's not for everyone, but an Excel spreadsheet is a great tool to use with, a budget plan because you're talking
Hmm.
about each year you can separate each bucket of money that you're talking about and which account and what your interest rates are. And it does the math for you all in one.
Hmm. Exactly. And yeah, I'm all a fan of spreadsheets, and especially I have one for my own finances. I know there's apps out there that
Yes.
can probably do it. I'd like to do it by hand. If spreadsheets, or even just grabbing my iPad and just, or a piece of paper and just start drawing. And this
Yes.
is the way I do it, by the way. Uh, in this strategy, I just happen to see it that is the most effective in the way to staying consistent. So
Yes.
when talking about budgeting and people don't know, well, how much should I save? Okay, let's talk about the what's coming in, right? Let's say you get in. I'm just going to use simple numbers of $1,000, right? Because we want to split it up in 20, 60, 20, which is,
Okay.
I don't know if it's a very common rule,
Mhm.
20% discretionary income, essentially your fun money,
Okay.
60% expenses, fixed expenses, and then 20% is savings, right?
Okay.
As just a rule of thumb, I personally use it in that specific way. Essentially, my expenses are 60% of my income, to 20% is my fun money. I get to spend it however I want. I don't have to feel guilty about it.
Mhm.
And then 20% religiously each month gets put away,
Okay.
right? So it's building that foundation of a saving strategy,
Yeah.
right? Do you have that in place? If not, okay, let's dive deep into that and see why it's not happening, or maybe you just didn't even realize you could save.
Yeah.
I just had this an appointment with a younger uh, uh, gal that is about to get married. She's in her late 20s. They both have their first, job right out of college, so they're making that adult money, as they like to say
You
it.
you aren't talking about me here, are you?
No, no. But it's very common to have these kinds of conversation around your life stage, right?
Yes.
But but she was just like, I don't know if we can save any money. I'm just like, well, let's talk through it.
Mhm.
Uh, okay, the combining both of your incomes, let's say I get to, whatever amount. If we do the math of what's 20% of that, okay, I'm going to put that on the left here, 20% of that
Mhm.
specific amount. Then, okay, 60%, I put it in the middle. I do another write down. And okay, this is 60% of their income. And then I do another thing over here, another 20%. And then that's what it is over here.
Okay.
Okay, we have the amounts established. Now let's talk through your expenses. And they tell me the expenses, whatever it
Yep.
is,
Monthly payments, whatever
yeah,
it is. Yep.
rent, whatever it is, right? And then write it down, a detailed full list. Okay, write it down. Okay, now I add it all up. Okay, it fits in this particular case. It fit under the 60% rule. They were spending around 58%, let's say, of their income
Okay.
in their fixed expenses. I'm like, okay, cool, that works out. Let's move on to the next thing. I think their fun money bucket was about $1,000, and they
Okay.
said $1,000. I don't even think I could ever spend. I could. They were pretty. They're homebodies, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. They said, "Oh, I don't know if I could spend, or am I if I'm going to spend $1,000 in anything. I like to
Mhm.
cook at home. I don't really like going out to any places and restaurants and all those things. I'm a homebody, so okay, $1,000 is fair. So the other over here, the 20% is the same as the other 20%, right? So
Yeah.
it's $1,000. Okay, and so that making them see that, they said, oh,
Mhm.
I can save $1,000 a month, right?
Well, and I mean, like you said, Jose, when you talk about what your monthly, expenses are, I think that in itself is so important to write out
Mm-hmm.
because we are so used to putting things on our credit card,
Mm-hmm.
automatic payments that we don't even know what we're paying for. And, when you speak of the apps and stuff that help you manage a budget or come up with, kind of a plan, right?
Mm-hmm.
They usually cost money, and then you
Mm-hmm.
buy into it, and then you forget about it, and now you're
Mm-hmm.
spending 10, 15 bucks a month that you completely forget,
Mm-hmm.
and you're just wasting money. So
Yeah.
I think it's so important to go over that as well, just in
Yeah.
itself.
Yeah, that's why, I mean, I like to draw things out. That's why it's
Yes.
and it's just visually. I think I'm more of a visual person. I think majority of people are visual
Yeah.
learners, so I like to do that for everybody. Um, then they realize, oh, okay, I can actually save something. Um, and then I asked, well, do you have an emergency fund? Well, first, what is that? They asked, and
Oh.
and I said, well, it's an emergency fund is typically 3 to 6 months of expenses. Remember that 60% column?
Mhm.
Okay, multiply that by 3 or 6. And they're saying, well, I don't know, how do I know what if I'm 3 or 6 months of expenses? I'm like, okay. So the rule of thumb on that is, if you are, let's say it's a couple and only one is working,
Mm-hmm.
then 6 months
Mm-hmm.
of expenses is the rule of thumb. Let's say both of them are working. In this case, it was both of them that were working. Um, uh, it's 3 months,
Okay.
right? Because the chances of both of them going and losing their jobs
Mm-hmm.
at the same time is lower. It's not that it couldn't happen, but it's slower than one person alone.
Yeah.
So that is the next step. Do you have an emergency fund? Yes or no. And if you don't, okay, we're going to multiply this 60% times 3 in this particular case because they were both working. Uh, no, okay, we're going to make sure it funds to this amount.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, after that, we have an emergency fund, and we have the foundation of where we know where our income is coming from, we know where our expenses are going, and we have a saving strategy, and we have
Mm-hmm.
an emergency fund set up. Now we can go on the offense. Or in this particular, another analogy that people like to use is, we've built the foundation of the house, right? Which is the
Yes.
everything that I just mentioned: the income, emergency fund, and saving strategy. Now we can put up the frames and the what do you call the
The
sheet of
windows, the sheet
no,
wall or
yeah,
sheetrock?
yeah,
Sheetrock?
sheetrock, something like that. I forget what it's called.
Clearly, you and
Yeah.
I are not in the building industries.
Well, yeah. I don't know what technically goes up next, but the point is, whatever is up next is what you put up, right? Or if you like to use sports analogies, you have your defense. Now you can work on the offense and pick the players that
Yes.
are going to play on offense and score the goals or the touchdowns for you.
Wow, look at you. You just came with both analogies and you
Whatever
crushed
works
it.
for you, right?
That was awesome.
Yeah, and I probably should know about construction because my dad owns a construction company, but I never hang out in his business, so don't know anything about that.
Yes.
So that's the next step. We actually go into the offense, and now that's where things get a little bit more, uh, or just the complexity changes. Just that
Yes.
you have to look at things in a different way, because now you're dealing with uh, riskier things, like investing in the stock market. And now it's when you have to really have a conversation with yourself and your spouse,
Yeah.
and also with the financial advisor, as in, okay, what does risk mean to me?
Yeah.
What am I, what kind of risk am I trying to avoid? And what kind of risk level am I comfortable with? And
And I
what I
think
don't,
that will also depend on the timing, right? I mean, so we're
yeah,
talking
exactly.
about a decade from retirement, but we're also comparing this to young people and fresh out
Hmm.
of college. And so that risk level is really going to be the main differentiator
Hmm.
in the different age that you are or the
Hmm.
year plan that you have.
Right. And the older obviously you are and the closer you are to retirement, the more things that you're afraid of or things that you have to protect yourself from. So
Yes.
this risk conversation really needs to be an honest conversation, and a conversation that needs to be had.
Mhm.
Um, and and I think the everyone defines risk in so many different ways, and that's why I don't like asking that question that other institutions ask about when
Mhm.
asking about risk is, oh, from 1 to 5, what is your risk tolerance?
Nobody
What
knows.
does that even mean, right? What does that even mean, right?
Yes.
Well, 1 being very conservative, 5 being very aggressive. Where you land,
Mhm.
I don't know. Most people were like, I don't know exactly. So that I don't like asking it that way because people
Mhm.
don't know what that means.
Yeah.
What I like to do instead is, we ask a series of 11 questions, uh, and the way that those questions are structured are to make you express your risk, your tolerance towards risk, and add context to it. So they're more,
Okay.
more questions, as
Personality
in,
and
yeah, personalities, and also, what if this happened? How would you react? Those
yeah.
kinds of questions that are go a little more deeper, and have a little more add a little more color to the picture of what your risk means, right?
Yes, and who you are as a person and what
Mm-hmm.
your goals are too.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So having that really in place, and be and part of my job as a financial advisor also is to keep people consistent with that risk tolerance. Sometimes
Mhm.
people tell me that they're a particular risk tolerance, or we go through the questions, and that really shows what kind of risk tolerance, the risk
Mhm.
they're willing to take. But one year, let's say the market did really well, and they think it's just going to keep going, and I mean sometimes it can, right? And they just want to go full out, all aggressive on everything. And I say,
Yes.
wait a second, because
Yep.
people just think, as the market is going up and it's going up, and get that momentum, they just think it's always going to be that way.
No.
Um, so it's just a lot of conversations go around risk,
Yeah.
making sure your risk is the appropriate one for you, according to the way that you answer the questions that I asked, and that you don't get swayed by maybe the news and things like that, all these external things, and you got to stay focused on the goals that you set out for yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. So I just want to, remind our listeners and viewers that, when it comes to risk, it's basically putting it in a safe money bucket or a more risky one that could result
Hmm.
in more money made, or, better income, or better, what what do you call this? You're the financial expert here. Like returns, you're going to get better
Yeah,
returns in the more
yeah.
risky one. But then you could, risk maybe losing more than you want. And
Hmm.
so that's when we talk about the risk level, is we kind of talk about the green bucket is safe, the
Hmm.
yellow is kind of in the middle, and then the
Hmm.
red is risk and, high
Risky, yeah.
risk. Yeah. So it just, and that's why we say that it all depends on your timing, because if you
Hmm.
do lose a little bit, at 22, it's a lot different than losing a little bit at 50.
Hmm. Exactly. And I'm gonna have another analogy for you. uh,
Okay.
it's a baseball analogy. I have a couple, actually.
Okay, let's hear them.
so so let's say a batter is just being, careless, and just wants to hit a home run every single time.
Yep.
What happens with that is, when you start to just swing for the fences every single time, you get
Mhm.
striked out. So that's an example of somebody that is just going full aggressive, all offensive, no defense.
Yes.
Yes, you can have some home runs, but you're going to be you're going to strike out at
Mhm.
times, right? And that's
Mhm.
not going to be pretty. And the closer you are to retirement, the less you can afford to strike out, right?
Mhm.
And also another thing, with the closer you are to retirement, your game strategy changes. Your
Yeah.
overall game strategy changes. Now I'm going to use another baseball analogy that comes from the movie Moneyball. Um, in Moneyball, there's this guy, the new general manager, that is trying to rebuild the whole team, and they're trying to analyze all these players, but they don't have enough money to buy these players, right?
Hmm.
And so they're trying to figure out, okay, I don't know who to buy as a player, but they're all looking at the stat of, okay, how many people like the hit percentage,
Mhm.
right? How many people are actually hitting the ball? Um, and then this economist guy, and not to say that, I mean, I feel like I like this movie because an economist is the main character here. An
Of
economist comes
course,
in.
of course.
An economist comes in, which is in this movie, it's Jonah Hill. Uh,
Okay.
and he comes in, he said, I think you guys are looking at the wrong variable, the wrong data, to figure out if you should buy somebody or not, and if this person should be part of the team. I think the data point that you should be looking at is what player gets on base first, or gets on base constantly. So
Oh.
because the thought is, who the players that get on base constantly win games,
Mhm.
right? So now, going back to our financial talk,
Yeah.
we're not necessarily looking for home runs. Once you're at 10 years before retirement, you're not looking for home runs anymore. You're
Mhm.
looking to get on base constantly.
Yeah.
And that changes the way that your financial game and investment strategy uh, is going to change for you. So now the investments you're going to have 10 years before retirement are going to be more leaning towards getting on base constantly. Someone in their 20s, they can get away with, they're still going to have some defense, trying to get on base, but they can afford to strike out a little bit more.
Yep.
right? So,
Huh.
um,
That's a
a
great
bunch of analogies.
analogy. Yeah. Yeah, and implementing them in this conversation, and I just also wanna state, there was a fun statistic, not really fun, but there's a statistic that came up in our discussion, that's a 2024 GO banking rates study, and it found that 30% of workers have no retirement savings and
Mhm,
40% aren't contributing to any retirement plan.
mhm.
So, for our listeners and viewers, you're not alone. There's definitely a lot of people out there. And so, we're trying to prevent that from happening. And so, you're not in a chaos situation 10 years before retirement. We're trying to help you plan for that so you're not stressing and worried and needing to be in that high risk ever.
Yeah, exactly, and I think by majority of that, the 30%, I believe, just from my experience of working with a lot of people over the
Hmm.
last several years, I think those 30% that uh, have no retirement savings are not necessarily because they can't. I think it's because they didn't have that conversation or that sit
Yes.
down. "Oh, okay, this is what my budget looks like. How much can I afford to save every month?" That conversation that I had
Yeah.
to for the saving strategy. I
Yes.
think that opens a lot of people's eyes. The reaction that I get from most people when going through that exercise with somebody, it is very powerful. And that's when people realize, "Oh, yeah, I can actually save." And
Yeah.
so that I think for those people that are in that 30%, I think that'll be very helpful. And that 40% that aren't contributing to any retirement plan, it's probably through work or 401k, 403b, things like that.
Hmm.
Sometimes they don't even know they have it,
Yes.
they don't even know what kind they have, right?
Yeah,
And
when you sign on for a job, there's a lot of paperwork, a lot of
oh,
things that
yeah,
you go
and
through that I'm sure
yeah,
it just goes unseen.
yeah, and thankfully, um, my clients that are in that situation, this and they
Mhm.
go get a new job, they ask for my help, and they bring all their stuff, and we kinda have a conversation around it so they know what to pick, or just explaining their benefits to them.
Yes.
And that is a very, very powerful exercise that I do with my clients and explaining what benefits they have and what actually fits their financial plan that we currently have in
Mhm.
place. They want to complement each other, right?
Yeah.
So that's another thing that I would recommend get with a financial advisor and have them explain your benefits to you.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and how can our listeners and viewers get a hold of you to have that no obligation consultation and learn more? I mean, this is step number 1, consult
Hmm.
a financial advisor and just so you can help explain where to start and go over that budget list and go over their what they're paying for currently.
Yeah, they can reach out to us at 888-390-5277 or go to our show website, financialarmorshow.com.
Well, perfect. And Jose, I just want to remind our listeners and viewers that, consulting a financial services professional and a financial advisor, this can help really ensure risk appropriate allocations, the tax efficiency that's needed, and the long term planning alignment. So don't feel like you're alone. Don't feel like you're too late. It's always perfect to start now. Better late than never.
Mhm. Exactly.
All right. Well, thank you, Jose. This was a great episode, and we'll see you guys next week. And this does it for the Financial Armor with our host, Jose Rodriguez.